Diversification is probably my favorite part of strategy. Hint, hint. No, I'm just joking about learning any extra about diversification. Diversification comes in stages, and diversification is when we change our product line to do a lot of things, one of which to reduce risk. But when we change our product line and move outward from where we start. So we start with a single product. Then we go what is called closely related diversification, and that's when, or the new product shares a lot of the value chain activities. Related diversification is when we share some of the value chain activities, but not all of them. Loosely related is when we share only one value chain activity, and we always talk back to a single product, not the step before. And finally, unrelated, which has no value chain activities that are shared at all. So let's look at an example. Okay, we have dog food. That's our single product. Closely related might be cat food. It's got a lot of the same value chain activities. Our inbound logistics are going to be a little bit different because we have to get fish now. But our operations, the way you make cat food and the way you make dog food, pretty much the same. Outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and even service, most of those are going to be identical. Wherever you sell dog food, you pretty much sell cat food. Related diversification, farm animal food. Now remember, we're going to relate this back to dog food, not to cat food. Some of these are the same. Our outbound logistics are going to be a little bit different because now not only are we selling to Albertsons and Walmart, now we're also selling to Tractor Supply and veterinarians that handle farm kinds of animals. But our inbound logistics are going to be basically the same. We put the same things in dog food and cat food mostly that we put in animal food. And our operations are going to be the same. And our service will be kind of the same. Loosely related would be aquariums. The inbound logistics, what we use to build aquariums and where we're going to get the parts and stuff, is going to be different. And operations, obviously you don't build aquariums the same way as you build dog food. The outbound logistics are probably going to be closer. We're going to sell to the same pet stores and so on, but not exactly. And marketing and service are going to be different. Finally, unrelated. There are no value chain activities that work. So we have televisions have nothing to do. It's not the same parts. It's not the same operations. There's nothing that's the same with televisions when compared to dog food. Why would I want to diversify in the first place? Well, to spread the risk. That's a defensive action. I'm worried about whether there are too many other competitors in the dog food market or that people are going to stop buying dog food and I'm going to lose profit. It could be because of market contraction. This is buggy whips when automobiles started coming around. I'm worried about the obsolescence of my product. When we find ourselves in a declining or stagnant market, now is the time for us to start thinking about broadening our product base. Sometimes it'll give us access to new markets. We have dog food, we had cat food. Well, some people own dogs, some people own cats, and some own both. If I'm happy with my dog food and now the same company offers cat food, then maybe I'll buy it. And that's where we get to leveraging a common brand name to gain economies of scale and scope. Now we know what economies of scale is, and economies of scope is where the more I make a certain type of product, the better I am at it. Let's say that I make calculators, and I start off with just a simple Kmart calculator. When I go to make the next calculator, it doesn't cost me as much to learn to make it because I already know how to do basic calculator functions. My next calculator, and it does financial calculations. Well, once you've learned how to build a basic calculator, that's all there is to it. Then it's just programming. So the more of a single type of product that I build, the less it costs me to build a better model. That's called economies of scope. The proposed addition and diversification allows us to use resources or capabilities or facilities or people or whatever that I already have. And It'll give me more opportunities to increase my profit or income than just simply expanding, as opposed to just buying their dog food company. By adding cat food, now I've added 6.5 million additional possible customers. And sometimes I just have excess cash I don't really know what to do with, and the market return is low, and I find an opportunity where I can get some better money and take advantage of some of these other things. So I do that. When should I diversify? When I spot opportunities that complement my current business, generally technology and products. When I can leverage my competencies, resources, and capabilities. I'm already good at building dog food. Building dog food. I'm already good at making dog food. And so I should take advantage of those. Generally closely related businesses that'll cut costs. So I gain some economies of scale, some economies of scope. And when a brand name can be transferred to other businesses, driving up the sales. The ultimate justification, we have three tests. The first is the industry attractiveness test. As we look at this as if it were a standalone product. So we look at cat food. Under normal circumstances, would we invest in a company that makes cat food? What do the power of buyers and suppliers look like? What do the threat of new entrants look like? Can we leverage a brand name? All of those kinds of things. How attractive is the industry? The cost of entry test. How much will it cost for me to get in? Would I normally do this? Would I think about starting up a cat food plant? And what will I save by doing it as a diversification issue as opposed to starting it up on its own? And finally is the better off test. And this is kind of the bottom line. Will the two companies be better off if they're together as one unit than they would be as if they were two separate companies? And if the answer to that question is yes, then that's a cool thing. Now, sometimes there's another reason for diversification. It's not a good reason, and we don't usually talk about it. But one of the reasons is that some CEOs are greedy. If I'm the CEO of a single product firm and I have some prestige and some power and I make some money, I'd be even better off, more better off, and make more money and have more power if I own a company that has 3 or 4 different types of products. Not a good reason to diversify, but it does happen. How do you diversify? Acquisition and merger. You can do an internal startup, which is, depending on how good your capabilities, competencies are, how much cash you have, might be the way to do it. You can even do a startup with a joint venture. We've done some diversification. So what can we do now? Well, we can keep diversifying. We can broaden the base where we start with a product in the middle of that diversification chain and diversify from there, as opposed to where I was showing you in the beginning where everything starts with dog food. We can divest some of the products and retrench. Divestiture is the opposite of diversification. Instead of adding product lines, we subtract product lines. And we can just sell them off, or we can spin them off. And we can just restructure, see if we need what we need to do, just redo processes, procedures, and look at our resources and capabilities. Or we can go through and actually change our processes and our people and our positions in the market and keep where we are. Okay, divestiture is actually when we go backward down the chain. The problem is that some companies, well, a lot of companies actually, they get too diversified. And what happens is they find out all of a sudden they're not making use of their core competencies, or they've overextended, or they really don't know what they're doing. Too many of them become diversified, and what will happen is that they'll start to back down. You see a lot of companies that are somewhere in the first 3 items in related. When you start getting into unrelated or loosely related, then things start to get a little bit trickier.